Hi, it's Dr. Warrick here, and I'm super excited today to have the chance to participate in the third edition of Podcastathon, which is an international event. For 1 week or more, thousands of podcasts will be highlighting different charities of their choice. And today I have the chance to speak with Adam Wier from one of the most recognized organizations in our country, Surf Life Saving Australia. Hi, Adam, how are you?
I'm really well, Dr. Warwick. Great to be with you.
Yeah, look, thank you for finding the time. I really think this is a great idea. Podcastathon is an international event. It is there to try and raise awareness and let people know what some of the not-for-profit organisations are doing in their own communities. So you guys have a great visibility in yellow and red. I'm sure most people would recognise Surf Life Saving Australia, but this is a great chance to get a little bit more detail. So my guess is it's a huge organization. What sort of numbers do you have, Adam? How many patrols do you have around Australia at any given moment of time?
Yeah, and this is a great forum and a great channel to try and get information out. Like you said, Dr. Warwick, it's really to be able to give a platform to so many worthy causes is fantastic. And love to talk about surf lifesaving. Actually, this week the club behind me, so the view behind me is actually the walkway at Bondi Beach. Our office is at Bondi Icebergs. I've got no control over what happens behind me, so hopefully it stays okay throughout the podcast.
It looks like a
Um,
beautiful day.
but Bondi Surf Lifesaving Club, just over my shoulder here, celebrated its anniversary, and it's recognised as the first surf lifesaving club back in 1907, where a few surf lifesaving clubs popped up around Sydney. So well over a century ago since we started. Um, and today there's 315 clubs just like Bondi around the country, in every state that where you'll see the red and yellow lifesavers patrolling to keep the public safe, and they do a fantastic job. And we have 200,000 members now around the country, or should be ticking over to 200,000 any time now. We were, as of reporting last year, we were just under 1,000 members short of that. So uh, that and many of those patrol, not all of them, so a large number of them patrol and do the volunteer life saving and keep people safe. Each year, Dr. Warwick, they do about 10,000 rescues, so a huge number of people rescued around the country. About 1.6 million volunteer hours provided to the community. About 50,000 first aid treatments. So not all of it's about the water. Much of it's about treating people that get injured on the coast, whether that's a cut or a scrape or anything up to something we might talk about later in terms of heart attacks that happen on the beach. Um, but I think really important, and sometimes we often forget it. There's a lot of support that goes into surf clubs behind the scenes to ensure that service is provided. And we did a little bit of research on that not too long ago, and it was something like 14 million other hours that are donated behind the scenes to get that 1.6 million of volunteer surf lifesaving hours. So a huge amount of effort. It's been calculated to be worth around about $6 or $7 billion to the Australian economy each and every year, and that number seems to grow every year as well. And it would be remiss of me not to recognise our lifeguard colleagues as well, who do a fantastic job, and most of them are employed by local councils around the country and are working, throughout the week, often on beaches like Bondi 365 days a year. So they do equally a fantastic job.
Wow. Really quite mind-boggling statistics there, Adam, in terms of the number of people involved. And what's incredible is these voluntary hours that are given, and that speaks volumes to what must be an amazing heart that the organization has, and what a connection it must have with the community. So yeah, it is such a trusted organization. Look, one of the things in delivering and looking after so many people, there must be some major challenges on a day-to-day basis. What are some of the things that are really impacting Surf Life Saving Australia? And I'm sort of aware that the landscape is changing in lots of different areas, from things like coastal erosion, which I know you've got a science background in, and I didn't jump on a bio for you, but as CEO of Surf Life Saving Australia, that's almost enough of a bio. I mean, I think that sums it up. But for those interested, Adam actually came from a science background. He had volunteered in surf lifesaving for a number of years. His science background was in coastal erosion, and he came to work with Surf Lifesaving Australia, really in risk mitigation. And back in 2018, moved to a more encompassing role as CEO, where you've been since. So, what are some of those challenges, Adam?
Yeah, it's a good background there. Yeah, coming at it from a risk perspective gave me a real holistic overview of all parts of the organization, which has really helped me as I've come into more senior roles like this one. Oh, look, it's hard to put your finger on one key challenge that's coming up. Look, we're a volunteer organization, and many organizations with large numbers of volunteers, community organizations are struggling a little bit at the moment. People's time is probably their most valuable commodity, and they're very selective of where they use it, and so we ask a lot of volunteers that come in, but I think it's important also for people to realize that volunteering in surf lifesaving is not, or it's not a single approach to roles. Like, people might look at the organization and see those people who pull on the red and yellow and do the 10,000 rescues and think, oh, I could never do that. But really, a surf club is a community, and you spoke about community before. And within that community, there's all sorts of people, and there's certainly we pride ourselves on ensuring that there's a place for everybody in surf lifesaving, and that's an aspiration that we have into the future as well. It's a big part of our next strategic plan to make sure that everyone can see themselves in surf lifesaving. So yes, the bronze medallion and those lifesaving awards are still the pinnacle for us, but there's many places for people to come in and be part of our community. And I guess counter to what I just said, that we've noticed that year on year we have about 2 to 3% growth in our volunteer numbers. So we are doing something right there, and I think the cause, our cause that we have resonates with people. Obviously, our location and the healthy environment and the activity, and being part of that community really helps. So there's challenges in that space. I'd say there's also challenges for the service itself, because our research is also showing us that the way in which people are using the coast, particularly since COVID, has really changed and really gone up another level. We do a survey every year, a population-based survey, which tracks the way in which people are using the coast, how many times people are going to the coast and using the beaches. And that number's gone from 450 million visitations a year. Now, last year it was 700 million visitations. So that could be you going multiple times, and we'll count each of those as separate visits. But it's a huge number, and that load is increasing all the time on the service. And I think one of the big challenges for us is, how we take that research and use it to shape the service that we're going to provide in the future, to try and turn the tide on coastal drownings and bring that number down. I think last year we had 150 coastal drowning deaths. One is too many, 150 is way too many. And we have a vision of zero preventable drowning deaths in Australian waters, and that's aspirational, but we're really putting resources into try and achieve that. And one more, if I may, I think a lot of people see us from a funding perspective as an emergency service, Dr. Warrick, and as a well-funded emergency service, but in truth, we're not funded in the same way of like your police force or your ambulance. And we do rely on the support of the community. And in tough times that we've seen with cost of living pressures and things like that, the people that are able to support us, it just, it goes a long way. Every dollar that someone donates or gives to surf lifesaving, we're able to provide a $20 benefit back to the community through the works of the volunteers. So there is a big return on the investment. And if you are in a position to help by donating or buying a lottery ticket or whatever it might be, or buying a raffle ticket at the local club, you can be assured that that money is going to really good use in the community.
Well, we will underline the possibility of donations. The Podcasthon is not about generating donations, but the awareness could leave people with a feeling, once they have a better understanding, that they'd like to contribute financially. But before we change topic a little, Adam, if it's all right with you, I'll just come back. And for those listening, one of the things that really struck a chord with me about what you were just sharing, Adam, is that it sounds like Surf Life Saving Australia is a big tent and welcomes anyone who's happy to contribute. And I'd, for example, love to bring any expertise I've got as a cardiologist. I don't see myself wearing the red and yellow and saving people down the beach. I think I'm probably a bit past that. But what I want people to realize is that you might be an accountant with some skills in finances. You might be able to help that way. You might be someone who doesn't have a desire to get in the surf, but you might be able to help get the equipment out. And there's lots of ways you can support your local club. So don't be put off or scared by the physical intimidation that you might think from those people who keep right at the coalface. So yeah, important point. Look, what I also want to cover, and I do like to try and keep these podcasts short, but it's very clear that there's such a lot with Surf Life Saving Australia that I'm happy to keep on going. One of the things that we've talked about is change, and you guys are obviously keeping lots of statistics so you know what's going on. If you don't measure, you can't manage, but you're also adapting to changes in the environment, changes in medicine, changes in practice. And one of the things that we've talked about previously off air is the changes in CPR, the broader use of automatic external defibrillators, and even the use of things like drones. So would you like to speak to some of the changes in technology that Surf Life Saving is embracing, Adam?
Innovation technology is really important to us, and it has been, I think, since our inception. We've always tried to improve the way we rescue, improve the way CPR's been done, improve the chance of people's survival in the water. We held an innovation day, in fact, last year. We tested a whole range of new equipment, from devices that can help track people in the water or inflate if someone's in trouble, to new drone technology. We're using drones in all sorts of ways. Most of we have drone operator awards in our that can sit alongside patrolling. So for people that can't swim, for example, that's a great opportunity, or even people with different abilities that aren't able to patrol in the same way as others can get involved in that way. And we're also using drones when we're doing other emergency work, such as the floods that you might have seen. So those have been really effective in that scenario. AI is also starting to come into play. We're doing research around cameras with AI to help spot rips and other hazards that can alert people in real-time information. So that's very exciting. And like CPR is no different, Doctor. Like we've come from, we've come such a long way, even since the advent of CPR. From we used to have, one breath for every 5 compressions, and then we had 2 breaths to 15 compressions, and then we're at 30 to 2. But now I think, the research is really shifting again, or not, or improving again, and really, through there's something called high performance CPR, which a lot of the emergency services are using. And we'll be looking to bring that into the organization over the next few years in what we call life-saving CPR. But it's really, really trying to enhance the hands on the chest compression, making that more effective, ensuring the recoil of the hands off the chest is done effectively to maximize the compression. And we've done a little bit of pilot research around that, and the efficiency gains just in one day of training have been enormous for lifesavers. So we're really excited to be rolling that out over the next year or two as well.
Well, look, let's stick with heart. It is, after all, my wheelhouse and my area of interest. When it comes to heart-related events, what sort of number of rescues or what sort of number of heart events are you seeing at that in those circumstances where we're talking about those thousands of interventions over the course of a year?
Yeah, so I had to ask the team a little bit about this. And some of our data on the sort of first aid isn't as probably where it should be, but we're another thing that we're really working on is our IT in the back end. So that will be looking to improve on. I think from what I could see though in the data, there's about, we do about 30 to 40 CPR, like heart attacks, a year. There are a couple of states that I don't have data for, so not a lot, and that number's been pretty sort of stable. And of even that, there's a lesser percentage where we're actually using a defib or CPR. The rescues that we're doing as well. So a lot of those interventions are intervening while people are still conscious. So, and our priority there, Dr. Warrick, is to actually, prevent someone from getting into trouble in the first place. That's what we teach lifesavers to do. So by having to get in the water and rescue someone, we haven't been able to prevent that from occurring in the first place. But so there's about 10,000 rescues. We're seeing that number drop, and we're seeing the preventative number rise, which is good for our service. But I'm not sure about the actual breakdown then of how many of those go on to need CPR at this stage.
So certainly we share a perspective on prevention, Adam. There's no question in my own mind. I work very hard to raise awareness and really look to identify people at high risk before the event occurs, because it is much easier to do something beforehand. As you realize in risk management, actually, much better to avoid the event than deal with it.
And that's exactly what the lifesavers are doing on the beach. Exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Look, slightly different question. 200 odd thousand members. Now, a lot of those would be nippers, and a lot of those would be some of the fittest guys in Australia. But a lot of those would be surf lifesavers who've been kicking around for a while, and family of the younger members. Do you have a feel for heart attack within the organisation? So members of Surf Lifesaving Australia having coronary events.
We're a subset of the community, and I think what you're seeing in the community happens in surf lifesaving, and certainly not all of those 200,000 members are active patrolling or even doing their proficiency. So, there probably is a need for us to do a bit more in that space. So, really keen to see some of the publications that you've produced yourself, Doctor, and how they might be able to help us. We have, as you pointed out, there's about 80,000 of those members that are under the age of 18. So youth's a really important piece of our membership, and being able to introduce like some of those healthy lifestyle factors, being fit, having confidence in the water is really important at that age. But as we get into the patrolling area, we are doing tests each year. We're teaching people new CPR. We're doing the fitness testing that can kind of help show people where they are. But any organized sort of heart health monitoring at this stage has been left up to the individual and their medical professional.
Well, obviously now's not the time to leap into that, but maybe we'll touch base on that offline. But I do know that Surf Lifesaving have been strong advocates for raising awareness about skin cancer. and even moving into mental health. And I really applaud that, taking on that responsibility as a well-trusted organisation with a far reach, trying to make a difference out there in the community. Do you want to speak to the skin cancer awareness and mental health initiatives that Surf Life Saving Australia have done?
Yep, I'd love to. Like, sun safety in Australia has been on a journey since I was since I was young.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit older than you, so I may have even seen a bit more.
Yeah, some of the things that I used to do when I was a child, my children certainly don't do, and that's a good thing. But like we've got policies in place and education in place for members around sun safety. Our patrol uniforms have changed over the years, and now there's much more covering up, long sleeves, all the things that you would find in your workplace, hats, sunscreen, long sleeve shirts, shade provided, sunglasses. So it's really important. We are in a hazardous environment for all sorts of reasons, and the risk management that we have around that is really important. And clubs do an even better job at working within their local environment to ensure members are safe. So we have a national approach that sets a minimum, and then other parts of the organisation can go above and beyond. And then the mental health side is very important, and I guess we're very aware that new people can come into the organisation, be trained up, go on a patrol, and potentially be exposed to a rescue on their first day. And so what we've really tried to do is, or what we are trying to do, is work better through the training so that people are better prepared for some of the stresses they might find on the job. So that preparedness again is coming through here. So how do we prepare people better so that they're more able to cope with stress, not only cope with stress afterwards, but cope better and be more resilient through that stressful period if they're having to do a rescue. And we also have lots of structures after the fact, in incident debriefing, counselling provided, EAP programs that can be extended to the club, and in-person counsellors provided. So there's a whole range of things that we have in place now that when I was coming through the organisation didn't exist, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Very impressive input and impressive sort of goals and objectives there, Adam. Very impressive as an organisation. Look, we're sort of coming towards the end. Imagine we had one of those opportunities where you could wish for one or two things. Comes around very rarely, but if you had a wish and you could wish something for the future of Surf Life Saving Australia, well, where would you be thinking? Where would you think you would wish for something different or wish for something more?
Well, I guess the dream for Surf Life Saving Australia is we achieve our vision in our strategy, which is that no one's drowning around the country. There are no preventable drownings, and in order to do that, we need people, we need the volunteers, and we need the resources to help us get there. But ultimately, if I had one wish, it was that no one drowned or died along the coast that was in a preventable way.
Yeah, wow.
That's our aspiration.
Well, I might steal that for heart attack actually, because I believe we can prevent heart attacks. So let's continue to make a difference in the best way we can. Congratulations on running really one of the most highly regarded organisations in Australia. And thank you for sharing today as well, Adam.
Thanks, Dr. Warrick. It's been a great experience.
Look, I'm going to wrap up there. I've got a little spiel from Podcastathon that I'll make sure I read so I don't mess it up. It says, as we wrap up this special episode of Podcastathon, if you enjoyed it, feel free to visit www.podcasthon.org, and that Podcasthon is spelled Podcasthon, and discover hundreds of other associations through the voices and talents of the podcasters. Adam, thank you once more. And for those listening, I really do hope you live as well as possible for as long as possible. Take care and bye for now.